Hello everyone, I am Lillymu 961 and I'm going to have to be upfront and honest right now. This review is going to consist of straight up gushing because I absolutely love Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. The first time I read this book was back in high school around the time the Twilight movie buzz was going on. Those who haven't read this book would probably consider it one of those Twilight clones that spawned during this particular time frame in young adult fiction. However, anyone who has read this book will know right away that Vampire Academy is its own thing and it is awesome. I know, I need to chill, but I can't help it. It's really good. I love it. It's good. Awesome. Love. Highly recommend. Yes. Read it. Yes. Okay. So today's review is basically an exploration of everything that makes the first novel in the Vampire Academy series fabulous. No novel is perfect, obviously, but the great stuff contained within this little gem is so good that you could easily overlook some of the elements that could be considered problematic. Without further delay, let's begin. Vampire Academy is an urban fantasy centered around Rose Hathaway, who is half vampire, half human, otherwise known as a Damper, and her best friend, Princess Vasilisa, aka Lisa, is the last of the Dragomir bloodline and a mortal vampire known as a Morai. 2 years after escaping from Saint Vladimir's academy, Rose and Lisa are apprehended by one of the guardians, Dmitry Belikov, and taken back to the academy to resume their studies, and in Rose's case, training to become a guardian herself. Guardians are essentially powerful Dampers whose entire purpose is to protect the Morai they are assigned to from the Strigoi. I think I pronounced that right, I don't really know, but we're just gonna keep going as if that didn't happen. So anyway, the Strigoi are immortal vampires who relentlessly hunt down and kill their prey, whether it be human or Morai. However, returning to the school means returning to the dangers Rose hoped to protect Lisa from. One of the strongest elements of this story is just the unique vampiric world that it is placed in. There are good vampires, there are bad vampires, and there are vampire-human hybrids who dedicate their lives to protecting the good vampires, and the way exposition and world building is done in this story is just very natural through Rose's point of view as she and Lisa are reintroduced to school and the Morai politics that they left behind. A lot of exposition that comes about is in response to what is occurring in the plot. A lot of the time it triggers memories for Rose, and that's how we get sort of the flashbacks, but they're not really treated as flashbacks, it's just treated as Rose recounting a memory. We also get to experience Lisa's point of view through Rose because of their bond, and by bond I mean that sometimes Lisa's emotions are so strong that Rose not only feels them, but can see and experience what Lisa is experiencing firsthand as it's happening. It's a really cool way to get a partial view of Lisa's point of view without actually switching in between her and Rose's point of view, and it's extremely well done. It's one of my favorite elements of the book, just the fact that you can get 2 points of view through one character, and it's honestly really cool. Another fantastic element is just the underlying mystery of why Rose and Lisa left the academy in the first place. And through Rose recounting memories, when certain things call those memories to mind, you get small snippets of circumstances that led up to their departure. Plus, there's an additional mystery that plays into Lisa's growing anxiety and depression, and everything about how the narrative is presented just immediately draws you in. The world feels alive, it feels timeless. I originally read this in, I think, 2009 or 2010, so it's been more or less a decade since I read this, and I honestly did not expect for it to hold up like this in terms of the actual writing itself. I was blown away by how everything weaves together so seamlessly, so perfectly. For a book that originally came out in 2007, that is extremely impressive. A big part of why it holds up so well is definitely due to how the world is presented to the reader. It's atmospheric and intriguing, and you just want to know more and more and more about this world and these characters as everything continues. And since we're on the subject of characters now, I absolutely love how real all of these characters feel. Rose Hathaway is hands down still one of my favorite YA protagonists. She's abrasive at times and is definitely impulsive a lot of the time and has some definite anger issues. But those parts of her personality complement her strong sense of duty and her sense of humor. Like, she's incredibly sassy and I love it. Like, she has some of the best one-liners that honestly had me laughing out loud. She is incredibly dedicated to protecting Lisa. She knows that in the future she's going to be most likely her future guardian, and she knows the responsibility and really takes that responsibility as a future guardian seriously, and it's the guiding force behind a lot of her decisions, for better or for worse. On a whole, she worries a whole lot more about Lisa than she does herself throughout this book, and that is honestly amazing. Like, she is a very, underneath some of the more abrasive aspects of her personality, Rose is incredibly selfless when it comes to Lisa on a whole. The subject of all this devotion, Lisa, is also an extremely likable character. She's soft-spoken, but she's also able to stand up for herself when need be. She's very kind, up until she's pushed too far, and that makes her a little bit unpredictable, which I like. Another thing that's nice about Lisa is just the fact that she worries just as much about Rose as Rose worries about her. Like, their friendship dynamic is really special. Lisa has the utmost faith in Rose and does what she can to help Rose whenever possible, even to her own detriment, which is, again, is a very special thing in friendship. And it's also special for this particular friendship because Rose has a bad reputation, in the sense that everyone pretty much kind of sees her as a troublemaker, and a lot of the adults around and even some of her peers don't really see her as, you know, someone that's, you know, taking the responsibility as seriously as she should. And the fact that Lisa has that utmost faith in Rose is just a really beautiful thing, because it's just a very special thing to have someone believe in you like that. It's awesome. So it's just really cool. And honestly, Rose and Lisa are friendship goals. These girls may as well be sisters because they are basically family to each other. They grew up together, they have survived through all kinds of mess together, and it is just an absolute joy to watch them interact. Their friendship is the focal point of this first book, and I absolutely love that. It is beautiful, it is well written, and it definitely feels like a real friendship. And props to Richelle Mead for that. I feel that that is probably her crowning achievement of this particular book. Now let's talk about some other characters and plot elements. First, we have Christian Ozera, a Moroi royal like Lisa, and one of the last in his clan too. He and Lisa have an instant connection. Their friendship and growing attraction for each other is most definitely the romance that is most strongly presented throughout the story. Well, at least up to a certain point when things go bad between them for a bit. The relationship definitely ebbs and flows naturally throughout most of the story. It complements the plot and it doesn't take anything away from the rest of the story. So I feel that the romance between Christian and Lisa is very sweet. It's well done. And even though it has like a break in between when things go bad for a bit because of plot reasons, it's still a very believable friendship and believable attraction and all that stuff. So nice. What isn't so nice is the complicated nature of the other romantic sort of kind of pair in this story, Dimitri and Rose. I have a feeling that this part of the video is going to be a bit rough, so please bear with me as I kind of just settle in my feelings about all this. The main focus of Vampire Academy isn't romance, which is good. However, it is hinted from as early as chapter 1 that Rose is attracted to Dimitri. It is also clear early on that she admires him for being a top-notch guardian, for his dedication to the role of being a guardian, and views him as a student is supposed to view her mentor despite the slight crush she obviously has on him. Dimitri is in a similar vein. It is hinted from a certain point onward that the attraction is mutual, but he would absolutely never, and I mean never, act on it. He is determined to make sure Rose learns what she needs to for the sake of being the absolute best guardian she can be for Lisa. He's disciplined and strict, but he's also very understanding of Rose. He sees her potential and doesn't see her as a troublemaker the way most everyone else does. Above all else, he sees her as a student. Period. Even with the mutual understanding and attraction between the two of them, the way the plot plays out, there's no real indication that things would go beyond crush level between them. Ever. If there's any romantic tension whatsoever in a scene, both of them resist it and immediately carry on as if the romantic tension didn't happen whatsoever, because in both of their minds, it shouldn't be happening, period. Rose comments in her point of view that he's 7 years older than her. She doesn't think it's the most appropriate thing for her to have a crush on her teacher, like, at all. And he obviously knows it's not appropriate to have any kind of feelings for a 17-year-old girl. So I kid you not, and I believe this, had it not been for the meddling of an antagonist character in this book, I am almost 100% certain that these two would have never gotten together in any kind of romantic way. They would have made themselves kick this attraction in the teeth and move on, because there's just too much other crap in this story to deal with without adding a taboo relationship on top of it. That there's just too much other stuff going on. They literally don't have time or energy or space in their minds to deal with any of this. But thanks to the meddling of this antagonist character, which I am keeping secret to avoid spoilers, Dimitri and Rose are basically forced against their will into a makeout session. If you've read Vampire Academy, then you know what I'm talking about here. You know exactly what I mean. They literally had no control over themselves, and if not for a split second where Rose realized something was wrong and that neither of them were acting like themselves, Dimitri wouldn't have figured out exactly what was happening, and the situation would have progressed further. Again, if you've read Vampire Academy, if you've read this book before, you already know what I mean when I say that this moment was forced on them by an outside force, and that neither of them really knew what was happening until it was almost too late. You could argue that in some ways it was too late because, they're kissing and making out and stuff. Yeah, bad. Very bad. Very, very bad. And on top of that, because of how rapidly the rest of the story unfolds after this particular point, neither of them have a real chance to naturally process what happened between them. And once they do have time, Dimitri and Rose both come to the realization, at different times mind you, but they both know that nothing like that can ever happen between them again, that it never should have happened in the first place. And like it or not, that makes for a fantastic future conflict for these two. Yes, the age difference makes it so sketch, but frankly, I have seen worse in YA. I kid you not. I've seen a lot worse. I mean, the Immortal series, just as an example, had a guy that looked like he was 17, but was actually 600 years old, who for 400 of those 600 years stalked the various incarnations of a girl he wanted to sleep with while married to another woman, and basically led the girl to get killed over and over again until he finally made her an immortal against her will, while leaving the rest of her family to die in a fatal car crash that his wife caused. And then he left her for a couple months to deal with psychic powers she couldn't control, and when he did show up in her life, it was mainly to flirt with her and not to help her with any of the mounting psychological mess that she was having to deal with, that he knew that he was responsible for, because literally his wife was the one that tried to kill her and basically murdered her family. Ay, ay, ay. And then, on top of that, I'm having flashbacks, so that's why I'm having the giggles start to come up, because I'm having the flashbacks and, low-key insane over here, so bear with me. The point being is that after a certain point, his wife still wants the girl dead. She has to kill her in order to survive, because she's basically dealing with this by herself, so he's not even there to protect her. And then, of course, after that, he pressures her for sex, once they're together and dating and stuff. And I'm just like, this 600-year-old man, trying to get down and dirty with this 16-year-old girl. Yeah, frankly, this could be worse. Frankly, that makes the whole Dimitri and Rose, him being 24 and her being 17, it makes it a whole lot less sketch when you compare it to, 616. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Why? Sorry about that. I had a bit of a mental breakdown. But the point being is that Dimitri didn't manipulate Rose, and she had other stuff occupying her mind throughout the book. Romance wasn't a priority for either of them, and they both knew it was inappropriate to have these feelings for each other. So I kid you not, I am almost certain nothing would have happened between them at this particular point in time had it not been for the meddling of outside forces beyond their control. And unfortunately, it's going to be harder for them to resist each other after a point in the series because of what this antagonist character forced them into. They can't just forget that it happened or pretend they didn't feel something for each other. And so again, you have the makings of some really entertaining drama. I don't care how problematic it is. Take it! I'm here for the tea! Plus, just the general admiration and respect they have for each other is just too sweet to resist. For heaven's sake, Richelle Mead, why did you do this to me? I am conflicted. I feel bad for wanting these two to be together. Why? Why have you done this to me? Oh my goodness, why? Thankfully, romance is not the focal point of this book, or I'd have to throw hands. It is introduced slowly throughout the plot, which is more focused on Rose and Lisa's friendship, the underlying mystery of their initial departure from the academy, their reintroduction to Moroi politics, Lisa's growing anxiety, another underlying mystery about the nature of Lisa's powers and who wants to use them for their benefit. All of it is woven together masterfully, so that no one element has too much time or space. It's a very balanced novel, and a lot more intense in places than I remember it being. Lisa's mounting anxiety and the things that cause her to start breaking emotionally is particularly intense. There's some not necessarily heavy gore in this novel, but enough to warrant a warning since self-harm comes into play. Beyond that, I don't know what else to touch on without getting into major spoiler territory, and I get the feeling I've talked long enough already. There are crazy plot twists you don't see coming, as well as the usual high school shenanigans at points. There's definitely a lot of cattiness in the first novel, and even a mean girlesque character that is cliche but effective. Being someone that feeds off of ratchet behavior and general chaotic mess in novels, the girl-on-girl hate didn't really bother me on a whole with this book, especially when you have Rose and Lisa's beautiful friendship as the driving force of this story. Friendship is definitely the heart of this story, and again, it is Richelle Mead's crowning achievement with this particular book. It is a beautiful friendship between Rose and Lisa, and it kind of makes up for everything else that could be potentially just messed up and crazy and makes me want to slap people. Ah! Sorry about that. To conclude this mess, Vampire Academy is extremely good escapism in the sense that it just pulls you into the world. It is easy to forget about the troubling things around you while reading this, especially because some of the things these characters go through seem so much worse by comparison. I think I love this book even more than I did the first time I read it, and that honestly shocked me. I thought I was going to end up with another situation where, due to the changes in my reading taste, this wouldn't appeal to me anymore. But it absolutely did. Vampire Academy is classic, timeless, a perfect introduction to what I know is going to be an explosive series full of twists and turns that will make me emotional. I already know I am going to cry at some point during the course of this series, and I am not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. Anyway, I believe that this concludes my review of Vampire Academy. If you guys enjoyed this video and just the craziness and the general buffoonery that I have to offer you guys, then please like this video. Definitely subscribe. I definitely plan to review the rest of the series as I read it. So if you want more of this mess, because it's gonna be messy, clearly, then definitely subscribe, like this video. Feel free to write comments if you've read the book, or even if you haven't read the book, feel free to leave comments and you can give me constructive criticism or just whatever, and let's just talk about the ratchetness together. Have a lovely day, everyone. God bless you all, and I hope everyone is staying healthy and stay strong. And hopefully things will be better soon. Bye-bye!